The cowboy saved a giant Apache woman from a bear trap. The next day, the chief demanded. James, a rugged cowboy with a weathered hat and dusty boots, rode slowly along a narrow trail. He had been traveling alone for days, moving from one small town to the next, taking odd jobs and earning what he could. Life on the plains was never easy, and James had grown used to the solitude. He enjoyed the quiet, the endless horizon, and the sound of his horse's hooves against the soft earth. Yet, even in such a familiar setting, he knew the land could be dangerous. Wild animals, sudden storms, and hidden traps were constant threats to anyone traveling alone. As he rode, James noticed a faint sound in the distance, a strange, desperate cry that made him pause. At first he thought it might be a coyote or some other animal, but the cry was human, long, loud, and filled with pain. James's instincts told him that someone was in trouble. He urged his horse forward, moving cautiously, scanning the landscape for any sign of danger. The sound led him to a small clearing near the edge of the woods. There, he saw a figure struggling on the ground, caught in a large, cruel-looking bear trap. It was unlike anything James had ever seen. The trap had clamped tightly onto the woman's leg, and she was trying to pull free, twisting and turning in pain. Her movements were strong, yet the trap held firm, digging into her skin. James's heart sank at the sight. The woman was unlike anyone he had ever met, tall, strong, and strikingly confident even in her distress. She had long, dark hair that fell over her shoulders and eyes that reflected both fear and determination. Despite her size and strength, she was clearly in serious danger. James dismounted quickly, tying his horse to a nearby tree. He approached her slowly, careful not to startle her. "Easy there," he said in a calm voice, keeping his hands visible. "I'm not going to hurt you." The woman looked up at him, her eyes wide with suspicion. She tried to speak, but the pain made it difficult. James could see the strain in her muscles, the way she gritted her teeth and tried not to cry out. He knelt beside the trap, examining it carefully. It was old, rusty in some places, but still strong enough to hold a grown woman. James knew he had to act quickly but safely. He reached into his saddlebag and pulled out a small knife, then slowly worked to loosen the mechanism. The woman flinched at every movement, but James spoke softly, offering words of reassurance. "It's going to be okay. I've got you. Just hold still for a moment." With steady hands, he managed to release the trap. The metal snapped open, and the woman let out a relieved gasp. She pulled her leg free and sat back, breathing heavily. Blood had started to trickle from a cut on her ankle, and James quickly grabbed a clean cloth from his bag to wrap it. He worked gently, making sure not to cause further pain. The woman watched him closely, her eyes a mix of curiosity and gratitude. "Thank you," she finally said, her voice quiet but firm. You could have left me there." "I couldn't do that," James replied simply. "No one deserves to suffer like that, not if I can help." He offered a hand to help her stand. She hesitated, then took it, and he helped her up. She was tall, much taller than James had expected, and her presence was commanding despite the obvious pain she was in. Once she was steady on her feet, James noticed she carried a small pack on her back. It looked like she had been traveling for a while, possibly alone. "Are you okay to walk?" he asked gently. "I think so," she replied, wincing as she moved. "My name is Naeli. My father is a chief. You must be careful in these lands. Not everyone is as kind as you." James nodded. "I'm James. I've traveled through many places, seen many things. But I couldn't ignore someone in need." He adjusted his saddlebag and offered her a small drink from his canteen. She accepted, and they both took a moment to rest in the shade of a nearby tree. As they sat, James noticed the scars and marks on her hands and arms. Clearly, she had lived a life full of challenges and survival. He didn't ask. He simply respected her presence and waited for her to speak if she wanted. After a few minutes, Naeli began to tell him about her journey. She had been moving through the plains to reach a distant village when the trap caught her. It had been set by hunters who were careless and cruel, leaving dangerous devices hidden along the trails. She had been walking alone, strong and confident as ever, but this trap had caught her off guard. James listened, impressed by her resilience. He had seen many travelers struggle through the wilds, but Naeli's strength and courage stood out. Even in pain, she remained proud and alert, never letting fear completely take hold. As they continued talking, James shared some of his own stories of life on the trail, of harsh winters and sudden storms, of towns where he had worked for food and shelter. Naeli listened with interest, occasionally nodding or asking questions. The two began to form an understanding, a quiet trust that was rare between strangers in such a harsh land. When the sun climbed higher in the sky, James realized it was time to move. The trail ahead was long, and he needed to get to a safe place before nightfall. He offered to help Naeli walk, supporting her as they moved slowly through the uneven terrain. She adjusted her pace to match his, and together they navigated the path with caution. Along the way, they encountered small obstacles, fallen branches, rocky slopes, and streams to cross. Each time James made sure she was safe, and each time Naeli showed her strength and determination, never giving in to weakness. By late afternoon, they reached a small clearing with a stream. The water was clear and cool, and James suggested they rest and refill their canteens. Naeli knelt by the water, washing her hands and rinsing the blood from her ankle. James took the opportunity to inspect the wound again, ensuring it was clean and properly wrapped. She looked up at him and gave a small, appreciative smile. "You've done more than I expected," she said softly. James shrugged. "Anyone would have done the same. I just happened to be here first." The two sat by the stream, letting the gentle sound of running water calm their nerves. The plains stretched endlessly around them, golden in the late afternoon light. Birds sang in the distance, and the wind whispered through the grass. For a moment, the harshness of the world seemed to fade, replaced by a quiet connection between two strangers brought together by fate. As evening approached, James helped Naeli find a safe spot to rest for the night. He set up a small fire, enough to keep them warm and ward off any curious animals. They shared a simple meal of bread and dried meat, talking quietly as the stars began to appear in the clear sky. Naeli spoke of her people, their traditions, and the responsibilities that came with being the daughter of a chief. James listened with genuine interest, fascinated by her stories and the strength of her character. By the time they settled down to sleep, a mutual respect had formed between them. James knew the journey ahead would not be easy, but he felt a sense of purpose in having helped Naeli. She, in turn, recognized his courage and kindness, qualities that were rare and valuable in a world often harsh and unforgiving. The night was calm, and the fire flickered gently as they drifted into sleep, each thinking about the challenges they had faced and the unexpected friendship that had begun on the open plains. The bond forged in that moment, born from an act of compassion and bravery, would set the stage for what was to come, a story of trust, honor, and the enduring power of human connection. The next morning, the first light of dawn painted the plains with soft shades of pink and gold. The air was crisp, carrying the scent of fresh grass and wildflowers. James woke to the gentle sound of birds singing and the rustle of leaves in the wind. He glanced over at Naeli, who was already awake, sitting quietly by the small fire they had left smoldering from the night before. She had removed the bandage on her ankle to inspect it, carefully rewrapping it with practiced hands. Despite the pain she had endured, she moved with a strength and grace that left James quietly admiring her. "Morning," James said softly, not wanting to startle her. Naeli looked up and gave a small nod. "Morning. The plains are calm today. That is a good sign." James smiled, appreciating her observation. "Calm is good. It gives us time to prepare." He adjusted his saddlebag and helped her gather their belongings. They had slept on the ground, but the fire had kept them warm, and the night had passed without incident. As they mounted their horses, James noticed the determination in Naomi's eyes. Though she had been caught in a trap just the day before, she did not show fear. Instead, she carried herself with a quiet confidence that spoke of experience and resilience. As they rode, Naomi began to share more about herself. "I travel often," she said, her voice steady. "My people live far from here in the mountains and forests. We hunt, we gather, and we protect the land. My father is the chief, and I must learn to help him guide our people." James nodded. "It must be a big responsibility knowing so many lives depend on you." "It is," Naomi admitted. "But it is also an honor. We learn from our mistakes and we help each other. That is the way of my people." Her words gave James a deeper understanding of her character. She was not just strong physically, but also wise and thoughtful. He realized that her size and strength were matched by a sharp mind and a kind heart. He felt fortunate to have met someone like her, even under such dangerous circumstances. They rode in silence for a while, letting the rhythm of the horses' hooves carry them forward. The plain stretched endlessly around them, dotted with small clusters of trees and the occasional rocky hill. The sun climbed higher, warming their backs, and James felt a sense of peace in the companionship of this brave woman. Despite the danger of the previous day, he knew they were both capable of handling whatever challenges lay ahead. At midday, they reached a small stream. The water was cool and clear, perfect for a drink and a short rest. James dismounted and offered Naomi a drink from his canteen. She accepted gracefully, taking a careful sip before passing it back. "Thank you," she said. "You have been very kind." "You don't need to thank me," James replied. "I only did what I could." "Anyone would have helped someone in danger." Naomi's eyes softened. "Not everyone," she said quietly. "Many people would have left me to suffer. That is why I am grateful." After resting, they continued on their journey. James kept a careful watch on the trail ahead, scanning for any signs of danger. The plains could be treacherous, and traps like the one that had caught Naomi were not uncommon. He knew that they needed to be cautious, especially if they were approaching lands where hunters or strangers might pose a threat. As they rode, Naomi began to open up more about her life and her people. She spoke of the importance of community, of helping one another, and of respecting the land. "We take only what we need," she explained. "We leave the rest for the animals and for the future. That is how we survive and how we honor the earth." James listened intently, impressed by her wisdom. He had traveled through many towns and settlements, seen greed and carelessness destroy the land, and heard people speak without thought of others. Naomi's words reminded him that there was still goodness and respect in the world, and that strength could come from kindness as well as courage. As the afternoon approached, they came across a small grove of trees that offered shade and a place to rest. James suggested they take a short break before continuing. Naomi agreed, and they dismounted once more. He led the horses to a nearby patch of grass, letting them graze while they rested. Sitting beneath the shade of a large oak, Naomi carefully removed the bandage from her ankle again. James watched, ready to help if needed. "Your ankle looks much better," he said encouragingly. "Yes," she replied, "but it still hurts." "I must be careful not to strain it too much." James nodded. "We'll go slowly. There's no need to rush." They shared a quiet meal of bread and dried meat, speaking little but enjoying each other's presence. The silence was comfortable, filled with mutual respect and understanding. James realized that moments like these, though simple, were precious. A chance to connect with someone in a world that was often harsh and unforgiving. As they rested, Naomi told James about her journey before the bear trap incident. She had been traveling alone, scouting the land and ensuring her people's safety. Her path had been long and challenging, crossing rivers, hills, and open plains. She had faced wild animals and sudden storms, yet she had always moved forward with determination. James admired her courage, recognizing the resilience it took to survive in such a demanding environment. "I have learned much from traveling alone," Naeli said thoughtfully. "It teaches patience, awareness, and respect. One must observe the land, understand the animals, and anticipate danger. Only then can one move safely." James smiled. "Sounds like you would make a great guide. I've learned a few lessons myself over the years, but it's clear you have a wisdom beyond your age." Naeli's lips curved in a small smile. "Thank you. I have also learned that help can come from unexpected places. You proved that yesterday. I did not expect a stranger to risk his life for me." James shrugged modestly. "I just did what anyone should do, but I'm glad it helped." They finished their meal and continued their journey, moving at a slower pace to protect Naeli's injured ankle. Along the way, they encountered a few signs of other travelers, a broken branch here, a distant footprint there. James kept them alert, scanning for any threats. Naeli, despite her ankle, moved with care and awareness, showing the same skills she had described. Together, they made a capable team, each complementing the other's strengths. As evening approached, they spotted a small clearing that seemed safe for the night. James guided the horses to a patch of grass and began preparing a fire. Naeli watched, offering quiet assistance when needed. She had learned survival skills from a young age, and her knowledge of the land proved invaluable. Once the fire was set, they gathered around it, sharing a simple meal as the sun dipped below the horizon. The sky turned brilliant shades of orange and purple, and the plains seemed to glow in the fading light. James and Naeli spoke softly, sharing thoughts and stories, each learning more about the other. Naeli described her family, the responsibilities of being the daughter of a chief, and the lessons she had learned about leadership and honor. James listened, fascinated by her experiences and the values she held dear. He shared stories from his own life, of hardship and adventure, and the two found common ground in their respect for courage, honesty, and compassion. As darkness settled over the plains, James and Naeli settled near the fire, letting its warmth chase away the evening chill. They were tired from the day's journey, yet a sense of accomplishment filled them both. They had faced danger, overcome challenges, and forged a bond through shared experience. Before drifting to sleep, Naeli turned to James. "You have shown me great kindness. I will not forget it," she said quietly. James nodded, understanding the weight of her words. "And I will remember the courage you showed. It's not easy to face danger alone and remain so strong." The night was peaceful, filled with the soft sounds of the plains. James and Naeli rested, knowing that the journey ahead would bring more challenges, but confident that together they could face them. The events of the previous day had changed something between them. A trust had formed, and a bond had begun that neither would soon forget. As they slept under the stars, each thought about the days to come, aware that the encounter with the bear trap had been more than a moment of danger. It had been the beginning of a connection, a story of courage, respect, and the strength found in helping one another. The fire flickered softly, and the plains remained calm, holding the promise of new adventures and the continuation of a journey that would test their bravery, deepen their understanding of each other, and reveal the power of trust in a world where every day brought both risk and opportunity. The following morning, the plains were bathed in soft golden light. A cool breeze rustled the tall grasses, carrying with it the faint scent of distant pine and fresh earth. James stirred first, waking to the calm sound of his horse munching on the grass nearby. He glanced at Naeli, who was already awake, sitting by the small fire they had rekindled from the previous night. Her ankle was wrapped neatly, though she moved carefully, testing her strength. Despite the lingering discomfort, her expression was calm and focused, a quiet determination shining in her eyes. James rose and stretched, feeling the stiffness from the previous day's journey. He had traveled through many plains and mountains, but the presence of Naeli, strong, brave, and resolute, made him feel more alert, more responsible. He had promised himself that he would keep her safe, not just because of the danger she had faced, but because he respected her courage and spirit. As they prepared to continue their journey, the sound of hooves striking the earth echoed faintly in the distance. James tensed, signaling Naeli to stay alert. Slowly, a small group of riders appeared on the horizon. They were mounted warriors, moving with purpose, and at their head was a man whose presence immediately commanded attention. Tall, broad-shouldered, and dressed in traditional Apache garments, he exuded authority. James recognized immediately that this must be the chief, Naeli's father. The chief's eyes were sharp and calculating as he approached. The warriors surrounding him were equally imposing, their movements careful and disciplined. They circled James and Naeli, observing them closely. The chief's gaze lingered on James, studying the stranger who had risked his life for his daughter. There was an intensity in his eyes that was difficult to read, curiosity, suspicion, and perhaps a test of judgment all at once. Naeli stepped forward, placing herself slightly between James and her father. "Father," she said respectfully, "this man helped me yesterday. He saved my life from a trap. He did not harm me, nor did he seek any reward. He only acted with kindness." The chief's eyes narrowed, and he spoke in a deep, commanding voice, his words carried through the quiet morning air. "You say he saved you?" he asked, turning to James. "A stranger traveling through our lands interferes in the affairs of my people." James nodded slowly, meeting the chief's gaze. "Yes, sir. I saw she was in danger and could not leave her to suffer. I acted to help her. That was all." The chief studied him for several long moments. His expression was unreadable, yet James could feel the weight of his scrutiny. The warriors remained silent, watching, waiting for their leader to decide the next move. The tension was palpable. James could sense that this was not a simple matter. It was a test, a measure of his character and his intentions. Finally, the chief spoke again. "It is not often that outsiders come into our lands and act without selfish intent. Many would take advantage or bring harm. Yet you claim only to have helped." "I only acted out of what I believed was right," James replied calmly. "I did not seek to interfere, only to protect someone in danger." The chief's eyes softened slightly, but his voice remained firm. "Courage alone does not define a man. Integrity, honor, and respect for our people and our ways are equally important. You have acted bravely, but your actions must be proven by your words and your deeds." Naeli stepped closer to her father. "He is honest, father. I felt it in his heart. He did not act for reward, only for what was right." The chief looked at his daughter, then back at James. He raised his hand slightly, signaling his warriors to relax but remain alert. "If what you say is true," he said slowly, "then you may have earned the first measure of trust. But be warned, our lands are not forgiving to those who act without thought or respect. You must show that your courage is matched by wisdom and loyalty." James nodded, understanding the gravity of the situation. "I will do my best, sir. I have no desire to cause harm or trouble." The chief studied him a moment longer, then spoke to Naeli. "You must be careful. The world is full of danger, and those who travel alone often face consequences they cannot foresee. I am grateful that you survived yesterday, thanks to this man. But the future may demand more than courage." Naeli bowed her head slightly. "I understand, father. I will listen and learn." The chief then turned his attention fully to James. "I am chief of my people," he said, his voice steady and commanding. "I make decisions that affect the lives of many. Your actions yesterday were honorable, but honor is only part of what we value. Your words, your promises, and your respect for our ways must be proven. For now, I will allow you to continue on this path with my daughter, but know this: one misstep could have consequences you cannot imagine." James felt the weight of the chief's words, but he also sensed a measure of respect hidden beneath the sternness. "I understand, sir. I will honor your trust and protect Naeli as best I can." The chief studied him for a few more moments, then finally nodded. "Very well. Ride carefully. Learn from each moment and show that your heart is true. My warriors will watch, but do not mistake their presence for distrust alone. They are here to ensure the safety of my people, as any loyal warriors would be." With that, the chief signaled his warriors to move back slightly, giving James and Naeli space to continue. The tension began to ease, though a quiet awareness remained. James could feel the chief's watchful eyes upon him even as they rode forward, a reminder that trust was earned, not given lightly. As they moved away from the clearing, Naeli spoke softly to James. "My father tests those he does not know. You have passed the first test, but there will be more. You must continue to show your courage and honesty. The way you act now will shape how he sees you in the days to come." James nodded. "I understand. I will do my best." They rode in silence for a time, the plain stretching endlessly around them. The sun climbed higher, warming their backs and illuminating the rolling hills and scattered trees. James kept a careful eye on the trail, scanning for any potential danger, while Naeli walked her horse carefully, mindful of her still-healing ankle. During the journey, James learned more about the customs and traditions of Naeli's people. She spoke of respect for the land, for animals, and for the bonds between members of her community. She told stories of her father's leadership, of decisions made to protect the tribe, and of lessons she had learned about courage, loyalty, and the responsibility that came with being a chief's daughter. James listened intently, absorbing each word. He realized that the trust the chief had shown, even if partial, was a rare gift. Few outsiders would ever have the chance to witness the inner workings of a community so deeply connected to the land and to one another. He felt privileged, but also aware that his actions now carried greater weight than before. As the afternoon progressed, they came across a small grove where they could rest. James led the horses to a patch of grass and prepared a modest fire. Naeli watched, offering quiet help when needed, and together they prepared a simple meal. The warmth of the fire, the companionship of each other, and the lessons shared created a sense of peace, despite the earlier tension with the chief. By evening, they had reached a small rise overlooking the plains. The sunset painted the sky in brilliant hues of orange, pink, and purple. James and Naeli sat together, gazing at the vast horizon. The events of the morning, the encounter with the chief, the test of trust, the careful navigation of danger, weighed heavily on both of them, but also reinforced the bond that had begun to form. "You have faced a challenge today," Naeli said softly, breaking the comfortable silence. "Not just in surviving the plains, but in earning the trust of my father. That is not easy, even for those who are brave." James smiled faintly. "I know. It is a test I am willing to face. I respect him and I respect his people. I want to do right by both of you." Naeli nodded, her expression thoughtful. "Then we will face the days ahead together. The path may be difficult, but courage and honesty will guide us." As darkness fell, they settled near the fire, letting its warmth chase away the cool evening air. The stars appeared, bright and clear against the night sky, each one a silent witness to the trials and triumphs of the day. James felt a quiet sense of accomplishment and responsibility. He had faced the test, earned the chief's partial trust, and learned more about the strength, wisdom, and courage of Naeli and her people. The plains were calm, but James knew that the journey was far from over. The trust of the chief, the respect of Naeli, and the challenges of the land itself would continue to test him. Yet as he drifted into sleep under the vast night sky, he felt ready to face whatever came next, guided by courage, honor, and the bond that had begun to form with this remarkable woman. The next morning, the plains were calm, bathed in a soft light that made the dew on the grass shimmer like tiny diamonds. James and Naeli prepared to continue their journey, both feeling the weight of the previous day's events. The encounter with the chief had been tense, and though they had earned a measure of trust, James understood that the real test was just beginning. The chief had made it clear that courage alone was not enough. Honor, integrity, and respect for his people would be the true measures of a man. As they rode, James thought about the responsibilities that lay ahead. He had spent his life traveling alone, facing dangers and making choices based on instinct and experience. Yet this journey was different. He was not only responsible for his own safety, but also for Naeli, the daughter of a powerful chief. Each step they took together had to reflect his commitment to protecting her and earning the trust of her people. Naeli rode silently beside him, her eyes scanning the horizon. Her ankle had healed enough to allow her to ride steadily, though she moved with caution. She was quiet, but her presence was strong and reassuring. James admired her bravery and wisdom, knowing that she had been raised to face challenges with strength and dignity. As they continued, the terrain began to change. The plains gave way to rolling hills, dotted with trees and rocky outcrops. The path was uneven and winding, requiring careful navigation. James led the way, pointing out potential dangers and choosing routes that would be safe for both of them. Naeli followed closely, her trust in him evident in her calm demeanor. Midday approached, and they reached a small clearing with a stream running through it. The water was clear and cool, perfect for drinking and refreshing themselves. James dismounted and led the horses to the water, allowing them to drink and graze. Naeli followed, kneeling by the stream to wash her hands and rinse the dirt from her face. The simplicity of the moment, the sound of running water, the warmth of the sun, the quiet companionship, was a rare comfort amid the challenges of their journey. As they rested, James sensed a presence nearby. He scanned the surrounding trees and rocks, noticing movement in the distance. A small group of warriors, likely sent by the chief, had been following them at a discreet distance. Their purpose was clear: to observe, to test, and to ensure the safety of Naeli. James did not feel threatened. Instead, he understood that this was part of the chief's test. He would be judged not only by his actions, but by his behavior in the presence of others who could scrutinize him. Naeli noticed his gaze and nodded slightly. "They are here to observe," she said quietly. "My father trusts them to watch over me and to see if you are worthy of respect. Do not be concerned. They will not interfere unless necessary." James nodded, appreciating her explanation. He knew that this was another opportunity to demonstrate his integrity and honor. Every action, every word, and every decision mattered. It was not enough to be brave. He had to show wisdom, patience, and respect. As the afternoon wore on, they encountered a small village on the edge of the hills. It was a settlement of families who lived in harmony with the land, tending small crops and caring for animals. The villagers welcomed Naeli with respect, recognizing her as the chief's daughter. James introduced himself humbly, explaining that he was a traveler who had helped Naeli when she was in danger. The villagers observed him closely, noting his sincerity and humility. One elder approached James, his eyes sharp and discerning. "You have helped the chief's daughter," he said. "That is a brave act, but bravery alone does not prove your honor. You must show respect for our ways, for the land, and for the people who live here." James bowed his head respectfully. "I understand," he replied. "I wish to show my respect and learn from your ways." The elder nodded, satisfied with his response. "Then you may stay with us for a short while," he said. "Observe, learn, and act with integrity. Your actions here will be seen by those who matter most." James and Naeli stayed in the village for the afternoon, helping with simple tasks. James assisted in gathering firewood, repairing a small fence, and carrying water from the stream. Naeli worked alongside the villagers, showing her skills and knowledge of the land. The villagers watched both of them carefully, noting their willingness to help, their respect for others, and their humility. Throughout the day, James reflected on the chief's words. Honor was not only about courage in dangerous situations, it was about responsibility, respect, and the willingness to help others without expecting reward. Every action mattered, and every choice was a test of character. He realized that this journey was teaching him lessons beyond survival. It was teaching him the deeper meaning of integrity and loyalty. As the sun began to set, painting the sky with shades of orange and pink, the chief himself appeared at the edge of the village. His presence was commanding, yet there was a calm authority in his gaze. He observed James and Naeli closely, noting how they had interacted with the villagers and how they had carried themselves throughout the day. "You have done well," the chief said, his voice deep and steady. "You have shown patience, respect, and willingness to help others. These are the qualities that define honor, not only in battle but in daily life. You have earned further trust, but remember, honor must be proven continuously. It is not a gift, but a path to be walked with care and integrity." James bowed his head in respect. "Thank you, sir. I will continue to act with honor and integrity." The chief nodded, then addressed Naeli. "You have chosen wisely, my daughter. He has shown courage and respect, but the true test will come as your journey continues. Continue to guide him and watch for his actions carefully. A man of honor proves himself in every moment, not just in a single act of bravery." Naeli nodded, understanding the gravity of her father's words. She looked at James, her eyes reflecting both pride and caution. "We will face challenges together," she said softly. "The path ahead may be difficult, but if we act with honor, we will succeed." James felt a renewed sense of purpose. He understood now that this journey was not only about protecting Naeli or earning the chief's trust. It was about growing as a person, learning the value of integrity, and understanding the responsibilities that came with his actions. Every choice, every word, and every moment mattered. That night, they camped on a gentle hillside overlooking the plains. The stars sparkled brightly in the clear night sky, and the fire crackled softly, providing warmth and light. James and Naeli sat together, reflecting on the events of the day. "You have shown great respect today," Naeli said quietly. "You helped the villagers, you followed the chief's guidance, and you acted with patience and humility. These are qualities that cannot be faked." "I can see your heart in your actions," James smiled faintly. "I am learning from you as well. Your wisdom, your strength, and your respect for others guide me. I hope to live up to the trust your father has shown." Naeli placed a hand gently on his arm. "We will face what comes together. The chief's tests are not meant to punish, but to ensure that those who travel with his people are worthy. You have proven much, but the journey continues. Courage, honor, and respect must guide every step." James nodded, feeling the weight and importance of her words. He realized that the path ahead would not be easy, but he was ready to face it with determination and integrity. The lessons of the day, patience, respect, humility, and the willingness to help without expectation, would guide him through the challenges yet to come. As the fire burned low and the night grew quiet, James and Naeli settled to sleep, knowing that the journey ahead would continue to test their courage, wisdom, and character. The trust of the chief, the respect of the villagers, and the bond they had begun to form were all reminders that true honor was earned through actions, not words, and that every moment offered an opportunity to prove one's integrity. In the calm of the night, under the vast expanse of stars, James felt a quiet confidence. He had faced the chief's initial scrutiny, learned the importance of patience and humility, and shown respect for the people of the land. Yet he knew that the journey was far from over. More challenges awaited, and each would demand courage, wisdom, and unwavering integrity. The plains remained peaceful, the gentle wind carrying the promise of another day. James drifted into sleep, ready to face whatever trials lay ahead, guided by honor, respect, and the growing bond with Naeli. a bond that would shape not only this journey but the man he was becoming along the way. The morning sun rose over the plains, casting long shadows. Across the rolling hills, James and Nayeli woke to the gentle sound of birdsong, the crisp air filling their lungs with a sense of calm and possibility. They had traveled together for days, facing challenges, building trust and learning from one another. Yet both knew that the journey was approaching a decisive moment, the chief's final judgment. The events of the past days had prepared them for this, but the weight of what lay ahead was clear. As they rode toward the heart of the plains, the sound of hooves grew louder. From the distance, a group of warriors emerged, riding with purpose and discipline. At their head was the chief himself, tall, broad-shouldered, and imposing, yet with an air of calm authority. His eyes, sharp and penetrating, assessed James and Nayeli with a mixture of expectation and scrutiny. The chief had observed their actions over the past days, watched their behavior, and tested their character. Today, he would deliver his final judgment. Nayeli rode slightly ahead, signaling her father's presence. "Father," she said respectfully, "we are ready to face your judgment. We have traveled carefully, followed your guidance, and acted with honor." The chief's gaze shifted to James. "You have traveled alongside my daughter," he said, his voice deep and commanding. "You have faced danger, acted with courage, and shown respect for my people. Yet courage alone does not define a man. Integrity, loyalty, and honor are tested in every action, every word, and every choice. Today I will see if your heart and your deeds align." James nodded, meeting the chief's gaze steadily. "I understand, sir. I have acted to protect Nayeli and to honor your people. I have tried to show respect in every step of our journey." The chief studied him silently, his eyes unwavering. The surrounding warriors remained alert but composed, witnesses to the final test. James could feel the tension in the air, the weight of expectation, yet he stood firm, determined to face whatever judgment was coming. The chief spoke again. "There is a river ahead, swift and deep. The crossing is dangerous and many have failed. You will need to guide my daughter across safely. Your actions here will show your judgment, your courage, and your respect for life. Failure is not an option." James's jaw tightened with resolve. He had faced dangerous situations before, but this test was different. It was not only about survival but about proving his honor and trustworthiness to the chief. He nodded. "I will ensure Nayeli crosses safely." As they approached the river, the water roared over rocks, foaming and swift. The current was strong and the banks were slippery. Nayeli dismounted first, inspecting the crossing carefully. She had faced challenges before, but even she respected the danger of this river. James helped her steady her footing, checking the path for stability. "You must trust me," James said quietly, looking into her eyes. "I will guide you carefully. Together we can make it across safely." Nayeli nodded, placing her trust in him. "I trust you," she said softly. Step by step, James led Nayeli into the rushing water. The current tugged at their legs, making balance difficult. James positioned himself to shield her, using his strength and experience to steady her as they navigated the treacherous path. Rocks were slippery, and each step required focus and care. James encouraged Nayeli with calm words, guiding her and reminding her to trust the rhythm of the river and the strength they shared. Halfway across, a strong wave threatened to sweep them off their feet. James anchored himself against a rock, holding Nayeli firmly. "Lean on me," he said, his voice steady. "We can do this together." With careful effort, they pressed forward. The river challenged them at every step, but their teamwork and trust allowed them to advance. Finally, they reached the opposite bank, breathing heavily but unharmed. Nayeli stepped onto solid ground, smiling with relief and pride. James followed, helping her regain balance. The chief and his warriors had watched the entire crossing. The chief's eyes reflected both scrutiny and approval. He studied James closely, noting how he had protected Nayeli, maintained calm under pressure, and acted with integrity. The chief then spoke, his voice carrying across the riverbank. "You have faced danger with courage," he said. "You have acted with honor, guiding my daughter safely through the river. Your judgment, patience, and loyalty are evident. You have shown that your deeds match your words. You have earned my respect and the trust of my people." James bowed his head respectfully. "Thank you, sir. It is an honor to have your trust." The chief's expression softened slightly. "Trust is earned through action and maintained through consistency. You have proven yourself worthy today, but remember that honor is a path, not a destination. Each day presents new challenges, and each choice must reflect your character. You have begun this journey well." Naomi approached her father and then turned to James. "Your actions speak louder than words," she said. "You have shown courage, wisdom, and integrity. I am proud to have traveled with you. Together, we have faced danger and proven that trust and respect guide us better than fear or haste." James smiled faintly. "And I am honored to have shared this journey with you. Your strength and wisdom have guided me as much as I have guided you." The chief nodded, signaling the warriors to relax. "Ride with honor and continue to act with integrity," he said. "Know that you are welcome in our lands, not only for your bravery but for the respect and wisdom you have shown. You have become a friend to my people." James felt a deep sense of relief and accomplishment. The journey had tested him in ways he had not anticipated. Courage, while important, was only one part of the measure of a man. The tests of integrity, humility, and respect had challenged him to grow and reflect on the kind of person he wanted to be. Now, with the chief's acknowledgement, he understood the value of these lessons and the importance of acting honorably in all circumstances. As the sun began to set, painting the plains with hues of gold and crimson, James, Naomi, and the chief rode together. The warriors followed at a respectful distance, their eyes watchful but approving. The journey had strengthened bonds, not only between James and Naomi but also between James and the chief, and through him, the wider community. Along the way, James reflected on the journey's lessons. He had learned that true courage was not only about facing physical danger, but also about acting with integrity, respecting others, and showing compassion. Trust was built slowly, through consistent action and honest intentions, and the bonds formed through mutual respect and shared challenges could endure far longer than any fleeting victory or moment of bravery. Naomi rode beside him, her presence steady and comforting. "The chief has tested us all," she said softly, "but it is not the end of the journey. We will continue to face challenges, yet the lessons we have learned will guide us. Courage and integrity are always companions on the path ahead." James nodded, feeling a renewed sense of purpose. "I understand. I will honor the trust placed in me, not just today but in every choice I make from now on." As night fell, they camped on a gentle hillside overlooking the plains. The stars glittered brightly, the Milky Way stretching across the sky like a river of light. The fire crackled softly, casting a warm glow on their faces. James and Naomi shared a quiet meal, reflecting on the journey and the challenges they had overcome. "You have proven yourself," Naomi said, looking at him with respect and admiration. "But more than that, you have shown that trust, patience, and honesty are as important as courage. These qualities will guide you in any challenge, no matter where the path leads." James smiled, humbled by her words. "And I have learned much from you. Your wisdom, your strength, and your guidance have taught me more than I could have imagined. I will carry these lessons with me always." The night was peaceful, filled with the soft sounds of the plains. The journey had reached a turning point. The tests of courage, honor, and integrity had been faced, and bonds of trust had been firmly established. James knew that challenges would continue, but he was confident in his ability to face them, guided by the principles he had learned and the friendships he had forged. As they drifted into sleep, the plains stretched endlessly before them, a reminder of both the dangers and the possibilities of the world. James felt a quiet pride and contentment, knowing that his actions had earned the respect of Naeli, her father, and the people of the land. The bond formed through courage, honor, and trust would endure, a connection between two worlds brought together by a single act of kindness. In the morning, they would ride onward, facing new adventures and challenges, but with the knowledge that courage, integrity, and respect could overcome any obstacle. And so, the journey continued, guided by trust, strengthened by honor, and illuminated by the understanding that true bravery was always accompanied by wisdom and compassion.